Hi, and my name is Stacey. I'm from Training for Transformation, and we've taken to the streets once again, and this is street interview number 2. And with me here, I have today Darryl Greensill from Stewart's Trophies and Engraving. Hi, how are you?
Good, thank you.
That's good. So tell us a little bit about yourself, Darryl.
I am an engraver and laser cutter. I produce trophies, and I'm also expanding the business into CNC routing and 3D printing. I'm 38 years old. I currently live in a house with housemates.
So share house?
Yes. Well, I own it and rent a room to.
Oh, okay. Yep. Self-promoted. Yep.
And what else do you would you like to know?
All right. So, do you have a partner, or are you single? Or
No, single.
You're single. Okay. So you're living a free life at the moment, then. Yes.
I suppose so.
Okay. So, all right. So based on that, you live with very different people who are not family. And you also have your own trophy and engraving shop as well.
That's right.
So you'll be dealing with a lot of customers all day long?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. We do get a lot of different customers. Mostly they tend to be similar demographic. Quite often women in their 40s to 60s. Next group would be men in their 30s to 50s. They primarily being the ones responsible for ordering of trophies for basically various clubs and schools.
Oh, wow. Okay, so you deal a lot with schools, clubs, associations.
Yes.
Yep.
And there's the general public who can be anyone.
Yep. Because someone might just want something engraved for a birthday present or something as well.
Exactly.
Okay. So let me ask you this. With all the different areas of your life, is communication important?
Absolutely.
Yep.
It's important anytime you deal with people. So that would be the majority of most areas of most people's lives. I suppose in self-communication is to some extent important, but anytime you deal with another person, you are using a communication skill, whether that be writing, telephone, face-to-face.
So do you require different communication skills for each area? Like if you're writing something or answering the phone, would it be the same? Or?
There was significant overlap, but yes, there's differences. It's very hard, for example, to convey emotion in email or writing properly. And the emotion that you can convey on the phone tends to be a bit restricted. No body language, for example. Also, talking on the telephone can be a bit uncomfortable time to time. If the person's in a noisy environment, and I'm a little hard of hearing.
And you mentioned before self-communication. What do you mean by that?
Well, communicating with ourselves, I suppose. Being aware of our own internal dialogue, monologue, multi-way conversation, I suppose. Different conflicting beliefs and desires. Coming to some decision as to what we want to do. That's an exercise in internal communication. There may be all kinds of different options available to us. We have to resolve them.
So the internal communication is very much like what we're believing or what we're valuing, or maybe like a lot of our cultural norms, or...
Well, all of that goes into it.
Yeah?
Yes.
So what makes communication important in your work?
Anytime I deal with the public, that's quite important because a sale hinges on it. And many times it's not just the product or service itself that determines whether or not they buy from me, but also to some extent whether they like me, whether they trust me to do it, particularly if it's something that some valuable item of theirs that I'm going to be doing something to. they need to perceive me as competent and confident. They need to, because in many cases people have never taken up that sort of product or service before, they will tend to have no idea what it would cost, how long it will take. So we need to be able to communicate that sort of thing to them in a way that, if it does conflict wildly with their expectations, doesn't cause too much problems.
So it's really important in the work that you do to have your customer understand all the different elements such as price and size, shape, colour, things
what
like that.
can be done, how long it will take, what it will cost them, things like that.
So how do you convey all of that to them?
Dialogue. Start with what they want, basically. What is it that has prompted them to come into my shop or ring me on the phone and ask me for something. Many times for example, someone may be after a trophy for a purpose such as a colleague is retiring at work. So that's a huge range of options. We have little figurines on a wooden base, which I'll generally charge around $12, through to $300 cups. Any of those would be an appropriate trophy for retirement. So if the person asks for a trophy for their colleague who's retiring, that's a good place to start. What sort of budget would you like to put towards it?
So always asking what they need and always being very clear as to how or what the trophy or the plaque is going to be used for.
Exactly.
Yeah.
If the person's, for example, about to sell up and go overseas, they probably won't want something big. They'll want something that will fit in their luggage and they can easily ship overseas. A plaque would be very appropriate for that, for instance. You wouldn't want a big cup.
Okay, so you're always asking them what's important to them and always making sure that you're meeting their needs.
Yes, in many cases, in almost all cases, that's pretty much in their request. They may specifically already want a plaque, probably because they've seen similar plaques done for other people, and so they think that is an appropriate sort of gift, and that is what they would like. So we narrow it down there. We go with what sort of size and colour, whether they want a corporate logo on it, what they want it to say, and so on. The options are pretty close to limitless, but narrowing it down allows me to actually do something for that person.
Okay. So, alright, so the work is very important, and even in your work you're always making sure that you're asking your customer what's important to them, what they need this particular item for, making sure it suits their life and things like that.
Yeah, making sure that it can be provided in time as well.
Making sure, okay, so time frame and things as well?
Yeah.
Okay. So, would you say that communication is important in the house that you share as well?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. So what makes it important in that house?
Well, to live in a congenial environment is very important.
Yep.
You don't want to be having arguments with housemates. That is not very often. Occasionally it may be necessary, but generally home should be a place that you feel comfortable in, relaxed, and around people that you like, or that you might trust. So yeah, it's important to be able to establish that liking and trust, and that requires communication.
Okay. Alright, so tell us a little bit more about that. Alright.
So,
No, you're right. Okay, so basically what you're saying then is the communication is going to flow a lot more easily if the trust is there between people.
yes.
Yeah?
Yes, definitely. If a person can be asked, will you feed my cat tonight, for example, and can be trusted to feed the cat, that's valuable. An attribute to have. that they can be trusted to pay their share of the electricity bill, for instance, pay their rent on time, not cause too much mess or damage. The mess is inherent. It's never going to be avoided, but making sure that it stays within tolerable limits.
Okay.
And that goes always. Generally with mess and so forth, dishes being a classic example, there's a kind of level that nobody's completely satisfied with, but they're just completely unsatisfied with. So working out that sort of thing is quite important. And a lot of that's done, not with overt communication, but with the expression that I don't like this, how it is, or that I'm happy with this. And so you kind of negotiate a happy medium.
Okay, so negotiation skills are pretty important,
Yes.
and that's definitely part of communication.
Definitely.
Yeah. So would they require a different set of skills than, say, what you do at work?
It's all part of the same thing, really. It's all part of working out what other people want, working out what you want, presenting what you want to other people in such a way that they will be inclined to accept it or at least consider it, and come to some reasonable compromise. I would say that is communication in a way.
So always expressing what your needs are, and then always making sure that you've listened to the other person and allowing them to express what their needs are.
As much as it's possible.
Yeah,
In the context of the
And then just sort of finding that happy medium.
yeah, something you both can accept, basically.
Okay, so something that you're both happy with, that you both
Ideally
accept.
happy with.
Ideally happy with, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not everything's going to work out happily all the time, but that's something of an unattainable goal. You're not always going to be happy. If you did, then you wouldn't know. But at least to be happy with what you're doing most of the time and your interactions with other people, I think it's desirable and achievable.
Okay, so what you've just described there would be very much like handling any conflicts or anything that arise?
Yes, absolutely. Conflict resolution.
Yeah.
I've had occasional issues at work where people were not happy with the result. So my focus there is how can we fix this? How can we make it how you want? Is that achievable? And it may be completely impossible. I know that a couple of times, but at least they need to know why it's impossible.
So you're always striving to make sure that they're happy as well, and that you let them know that you really listened to them.
You cannot make everybody happy.
Yeah.
You can't even make everybody understand, but you can at least make an attempt and resolve the situation in such a way that they're able to accept it.
I think that's pretty important. Yeah, definitely. Very, very important. So let me ask you this. From everything that you've said, because you work in a shop and you live in a share house, I know it's your house, but it's a share house, and communication is very important in all of these areas. Is communication something that we're born with, or is it something that we learn?
I think you get a certain amount of it pretty much inherently by virtue of being a human being and able to communicate and able to watch others communicate. You'll pick it up from your parents and siblings initially and other people you live with as a very young child, and then you pick it up more and more in school. You are learning it, but you can, as an adult or even as an aware child, direct that learning. You can look at your own interactions with others and see in what ways you're not achieving what you'd like to achieve, or if you're annoying people, for instance. If you're, if something about you is disrupting communication with others can address that. So I'd say it's a learned skill, but it's a skill that we largely unconsciously learn. Only a few of us take a conscious, deliberate action of addressing it.
So first of all, we're sort of learning the skill of communication from what our parents teach us and from our surroundings. And then
I'd say it's even less active than that. It's kind of a passive learning. You see it happen, and then you tend to imitate what you see, and you practice. Baby talk, for instance. Before that, baby body language. That shows up very, very early, and over time, the person gets feedback from what they said, or the motions that they've made, and that feedback becomes part of the cycle. And over time, they develop habits. Things can be positively or negatively rewarded, often in just one single important incident will set a communication pattern in stone for almost lifelong. And that can happen at a young age and can happen older. So that's how I see the learning of communication.
I think you're pretty right on that. From a lot of people that I've actually spoken to, they've said very, very similar things as well. First of all, we start learning just from our surroundings, from our parents, from the people we go to school with and things like that. And then, as you said, that's very, very unconscious and just very passive learning. And then some people choose to take it very consciously and really learn the actual skill of communication.
Yeah, the idea that you can, I think, is something that not even everyone becomes aware of. It's sort of implicit in school, where they are teaching you various communication methods. They're teaching you to write, they're teaching you to speak properly, they're teaching you to adapt to the social etiquette of communication. For example, raising the hand until called upon, things like that. But the idea that you can learn to do it all better may not cross everyone's mind. At least not to the same extent. We may not prompt actual action on it. Unless they have some overriding purpose. Something may happen to them that says, I really should learn to not be a jerk to people.
Probably that might be helpful. So, people might be nicer to them as well.
Well, it can be positive as well.
Yeah.
There's a saying that we are much more likely to take action to avoid pain than to pursue pleasure.
Yeah.
But if someone, for instance, got offered a sales job and realised that they knew nothing whatsoever about sales, they may decide to take up the study of communication skills in order to become a better salesperson. So that's a purely, let's say, positive prompt to it.
Okay. So sometimes people just get into different roles in their own work environments and things where they actually really do need to learn that skill of communication just to make themselves better in their own role.
Very much so. When I was my first job was with the Department of Social Security. I started there in 1992, and about 1994 I moved to another office in Advanced Greensill, and I was put on the front counter. I was a counter officer, basically dealing with people on unemployment who had come in for various purposes. Either we wanted to talk to them or they wanted to talk to us about something. And I had to learn communication skills, basically how to find out what it was that they actually wanted, how to do that in an unconfronting way, and how to resolve it, ideally as quickly as possible as well.
So you didn't actually have, or when you got into that role, you really truly wanted to improve your communication skills?
I became aware fairly early that I needed to. So
Yeah.
I tried to work on that. I read books about it, talked to those people who were actually good at it. There was a procedure for dealing with basically client incidents. If a client got particularly upset at the counter officer or at the situation, or I suppose at life in general, to the point where it was not shouting, then that had to be recorded in incident reports, and it was. I became aware quite early on that most of the incident reports were directed at the same officers, or most of the incidents happened with the same officers, and that basically indicated the style of communication. Those people, for whatever reason, were annoying the clients.
So they just had a different way of speaking,
Yes.
or a different style of communication that was different to some of the other people in the same work environment?
Yes, others never had any problems whatsoever. I mean, you can deliver really bad news that amounts to you're going to lose your sole source of income and probably as a result of that, your house. And
That would have been very tough.
yes, yes, it was. But yeah, there are ways to deliver bad news, even extremely bad news, without being cruel or confronting about it. And I wouldn't say I mastered it, but I got better at it. I needed to, and a lot of those skills have helped me a lot since.
Because you've been able to take the skills that you learnt in that job and carry them through in different areas of your life as well.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't deliver much bad news as a trophy retailer, other than the very occasional, the supplier is out of stock on that particular item.
Oh,
That's about
okay.
as bad as it gets. But yeah, it's handy.
So, okay. That's a very, okay, so they're two very different roles that you've actually worked in there. So was it Sentinel?
It was called the Department of Social Security then.
Department of Social Security.
They renamed it to Sentinel.
And now you're in a trophy and engraving shop or a retail.
I had other roles in 20 years. That was my first long career path, I suppose.
At the moment.
Yes, yes. I do like it, and it's growing, it's getting better. I think some of that is due to more effective communication previously, which isn't necessarily his fault as such, it's just life experiences, actively developed communication skills. So I've managed to increase the business quite a lot, and I think a lot of that is due to better communication. It has very much pointed out to me holes in my communication style. I'm still not much of a salesman. I'm not much of a marketer. I'm a good problem solver. And if I approach it that way, then that helps a lot. But I still find it extremely difficult to persuade people to pay more than they would otherwise pay.
I don't know about you, but one of the things I've found with with communication skills itself is that it's very much related to human connection, more so than sales or marketing. Because I think sales and marketing is a very different type of communication and requires very different skills again. But the skills that you were learning when you were in the Department of Social Security, they're sort of more that human connection or that human relationship type skills which have you been able to carry through and that you seem to be very good at.
I still have a lot to learn, obviously, but
come a long way.
Yes.
Yeah. So, if you had a message for people out in the world about communication, what would it be?
You can be better at it. That's the start. Realise that you can improve.
Yeah.
It is a skill like any other. Like many things that we don't really classify as skills actually, and can be actively improved by studying, by imitating those who are better at it, by realising yourself what kind of person you are, what kind of motivators drive you, what kind of problems and challenges block you. Work all that, try to ignore.
Darryl, I want to say thank you very much for allowing me to interview you today and allowing me to come into your shop here. So, my name is Stacey and this is Training for Transformation, and this was street interview number 2.